Welcome to Raised on D&D podcast. Each month, Raised on D&D brings you inspirational interviews with tips and strategies to enrich your family's gaming experience. Your host for Raised on D&D has been a game master for 30 years and father to 3 gamers. Here is Nick Cardarelli.
Welcome back, gamers. I'm your host, Nick Cardarelli, and this is Raised on D&D. My next guest is from Muncie, Indiana. She's a pillar of her hometown's gaming community. She publishes original music inspired by her D&D games. Please welcome India Potter. Hi, India.
Hi.
Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, well, thanks for asking me.
India, how did you get started in playing Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games?
Well, the biggest thing is, first off, my dad and my mom are both big theater people. My dad had a master's in drama, and my mom was a Broadway costume designer.
Wow.
So they are really good storytellers. That's like one thing that I was raised on, is like always encouraged to create our own stories. My dad used to play, when he was a kid, he was Sandolph the Purple. And he used to wear a purple robe, apparently. But I still have some of his old stuff. Yeah, he's the one that got me into it. Like, I've always been a really big gamer. I used to play, like, the original PlayStation with my dad. And then eventually he started playing D&D again when I was in late middle school. And so I started playing with him.
So how old were you about when you first played your first D&D game?
Probably 12 or 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember anything from that first adventure?
Yeah, my first character was a sorcerer, dragonborn. I'm pretty sure it was a sorcerer. And I know that she was a sage also, and she was very stuck up, and all she wanted to do was read up all the books.
And what edition did you guys start off with?
The 5th edition.
With 5th edition, okay.
Yeah.
But your dad had been a gamer for a long time. Do you remember when he started gaming?
When he was in middle school.
Okay, so about the same age?
Yeah, I think that kind of really sparked his love for acting and wanting to do that. And my grandpa was a Methodist preacher, so like my whole family's good at like public speaking and all that. And I feel like preaching is kind of like being an actor also. Not that they're being fake, but like public speaking about and like speaking to an audience kind of thing. So that's kind of a big theme.
It takes that charisma, and it takes that presence, right?
Yeah.
And projection, of course. Are you in theater also?
I was a lot when I was younger. I basically grew up in our local theater up in LaPorte, Indiana. That's where I grew up. Yeah, so but then when I went to college, I went for animation. Everybody's like, are you going to do theater? Are you going to do music? And I'm like, heck no, I'm not going to do it because everybody wants me to do it. So I'm going to do something else. I want to make video games. So I went into animation, and my mom and my dad especially, really, they really helped me and pushed me like, you can do it. And so I did it.
That's great. Do you feel like playing tabletop role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons has helped you in your other endeavors in life into adulthood?
Oh, yeah, definitely. In college, I stopped playing a lot because I only played with my dad, and it was 3 hours away for school. So I only played a few times in college, so I kind of like left it alone. I was really busy. But then my dad passed away right before I graduated in 2017. And so that summer, when I moved to Indianapolis, I started a group with some of my dancing friends, because I also got into Latin dancing that year. Kind of like the two things, loves of my life is dancing and Dungeons and Dragons. And I started a group one night with my dance friends, and then invited my other nerdy friends, and we kind of brought those two things together. And it was kind of like the thing that kept me, happy and sane after he passed away. And it kind of was like, this is how I can be closer to my dad and do something that he loved and honor him through storytelling. And D&D to me is like a big improv game. So it's really helped me like create a huge list of friends, like, and it's kind of been therapy.
It definitely helps with the grieving process.
Yeah.
Like you said, making you feel close to your dad again. When you went to college at first and you tried playing Dungeons and Dragons with people outside of your family, was it weird? Was it uncomfortable? What was it like?
I think it was only weird in the fact, like, getting used to how other people want to play. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was used to the way that we played, and I was a really big role player. And some of my friends, like my friend Chris, that I started the Dudes of Destiny, I dubbed us. He was a big rule guy. He loved to, like, he liked all the specifics and the mechanics of it. And some people like just combat, and I'm like, no, I don't want to be fighting things all the time. I think that was the biggest thing to get used to. And then also just getting a reliable group of people to want to play every week.
Yes,
I don't
problem.
I don't have some people built in that live with me that I can play with.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you introduced Dungeons and Dragons to your dance group. Now, did members of your dance group, had they played Dungeons and Dragons before? Had they had any experience with that? And how does that how did you start that conversation where you just break out with, you guys want to come over and play D&D? How did that go?
Okay, so all of them were new, but like my friend Chris, he got all the stuff and read it all before we even started. Like, there were some, and then there's some that just showed up for a good time, which is perfect. So I brought it up so Wednesday night was Latin night at this local bar in Indy, and we were just standing at the bar, and I was like, I really want to play D&D. Do you guys want to play D&D? Let's start a group together. And they were like, heck yeah, I want to play that. I'm like, right there. I'm like, we can call ourselves the Dudes of Destiny. Like, I came up with our name right there. We started a Facebook group, a private group for us to add our friends so we could talk to each other. And then it grew to literally like 16 people had joined. One night we had 12 people played one shot, and we had somebody bring their friends, so they played a two-headed elf. So we didn't have to make a new character. They just played the same character. They were really fun. It was a really good excuse to hang out when we didn't have a social dancing night. They were a really fun group. It was really fun.
Was it difficult to have all these very kinesthetic energy dancer people sit around a table and roll dice, or did they get up a lot, and or did it hold their attention?
I think we had a really good group of also storytellers, and I think they didn't like get up and leave and want to move around and all that stuff. It was just, we would go off on tangents sometimes on funny things, and it was more fun. It didn't matter if we didn't get that far that night. It was more that we were having a good time.
Yep.
But yeah, and we all learned a lot together, because I had never DM'd before that. And
so
yeah.
you had never been behind
Dungeon,
the screen,
yeah.
in the chair, right?
Yeah.
So
Not until this group, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. I have all my dad's stuff.
So how did that feel?
It was really great, because I was following books. Like, I was doing Horror the Dragon Queen, but I would make up a lot of my own stuff that would happen to them in the story. And I was more of a not a big preparer. Like, I would read the episodes before then and kind of know what they needed to do and where to go, but I would just throw in a lot of things at them, and it always ended up being fun, and like whatever they did, I reacted, the yes and. I liked it when random things happened.
Back home, was your father the dungeon master?
Yeah. He started a group for first this kid that worked at his job. The kid's mom worked at the same place, and then this kid started working there too part-time. He started a group for him, He had like he was on the autism spectrum, and so he had a little trouble like finding friends to play D&D with him. So my dad was like, well, I used to play, and you can play it. And so after my mom and dad got divorced, he was living in his own house, and then I started living with him in high school. And so they would come over once a week, and they were really fun. And my dad kind of became a father figure to a lot of the people there. Like there was a couple in the group, and they had a baby, and my dad was, kind of a grandpa to that baby too. He was a really big part of their life. So they really adored him.
So he really reached out to people and used Dungeons and Dragons to do that. What do you feel are some of the things that when you sat behind the screen, and now that you've been dungeon mastering for a while, what do you feel some of the things that your father kind of handed down to you and helped you with your style of dungeon mastering?
I am like my dad in a lot of ways. Oh gosh, in terms of being a dungeon master, or Dungeon Maestro, which is what I like to call myself.
Okay.
I think I love coming up with, even if it's a random NPC, they have this full personality now and an accent, and I love coming up with different voices. And it's all about the story for me. Like the story trumps the dice most of the time, and I like stand up and move around, and I like to interact. Like one time we were playing Where the Dragon Queen, they're traveling north, and they're a bodyguard for this lady, and there's this one interaction where these actors are trying to get free passage by pretending to be great bodyguards, so they have to arm wrestle them. I'm like, we're gonna arm wrestle for real, we're not gonna roll dice. Of course I lost. But I just got so into it. I'm like, I want to actually be in a huge epic battle. And yeah, that kind of led into more like going to Ren fairs and cosplaying and stuff, because I wanted to actually be the character, and I like to dress up. We would dress up sometimes going to our sessions.
And so Dungeons and Dragons has led to all these other creative outlets with cosplay and Ren fairs, but also you've started making music inspired by your gaming sessions. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Dudes of Destiny does have a theme song. It kind of got recorded, but then I was like, I'm gonna redo this, so that one's not online. But I have a song called In a Land Far Away.
In a Land Far Away. Now, this song you have actually put on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah. And then there's another song called The Willow Man that is like a fantasy song. Like lately, the past 2 years, I've been starting to really make up my own music. A lot of them are instrumental. In my current game, every character has a theme song that I've made for them.
Wow.
And they're not like short either. Like Verity, my character, her theme song's like 5 minutes, and they all like tell a story in my head. And maybe one day I'm gonna put some words to them. But yeah, they all have theme songs.
That is incredible.
I'll share them to Bobby, my DM right now, and sometimes I'll get some XP from them.
And it's terrific. So what is available for people to listen to on your YouTube channel? Which songs are good enough to publish right now?
In the Land Far Away has been published, and then The Willow Man I just recently put out. That one took me like 3 hours to put together. Like sometimes they are just like come out like nothing. But I'm definitely gonna do some more, because I bought like good equipment and to record now and everything like that. So yeah.
That is fantastic. What about these character theme songs? Do you think you can put some of those up on the YouTube?
Oh yeah. I've been meaning to put them up. I'll put them up now.
Good.
So yeah, let me count. let's see. There's a heist theme, which is for us, doing our shenanigans. There's Valentine, Yagan, Alisane, and then there's my character Verity, and then there's like a game theme song called "A Magic Beginning" that I made. I like that song a lot. So
now, does your Dungeon Master use these throughout the game? When you guys, like you said, like the heist song where you guys are doing your shenanigans, he just starts playing the music in the background?
he mentioned it one time, but he's yet to do it. So I'm
Okay.
calling you out, Bobby.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, we're all can't wait to hear how that goes. That's great. India, do you have any advice for what the best way to go about introducing new people to role playing, since you have a little bit of experience with that?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of new timers. For my 24th birthday, I wrote a casino heist one shot, and I was working at a bridal shop at the time as their marketing and shipping person, and a lot of the girls wanted to play, a lot of them, and so I got
Your coworkers at the
my
bridal
coworkers.
shop.
Yeah.
Now, so they had heard you talking about it.
Oh yeah.
and they got excited and they said, "Oh, I want to try that."
Yep. And so for my 24th birthday party, my sister hosted, and I had them all play. I got them all their own dice, and I said, usually if I make it a, hey, come over and we'll have some good food. It'll just be a good time, just try it out. It won't be hard. Like I try to just tell them that it's just really relaxed, and I just want to share this thing that I love with you, and I think that you will enjoy it. It's not hard. I think just sharing how much you love it and talking about your games kind of get it already. I've never really had a hard time like trying to convince somebody to play. I feel like there's a lot of interest, especially lately, the past couple of years. People are like, oh, I've heard of that. I want to try it. A lot of people are like, I haven't found a game to play with or somebody that would DM, because DMing is hard. A lot of people don't want to do it. And
yes, it is.
People don't know how to get in it. And so I'm just like, I made characters. Like the big thing was that I made characters for them so they can just come in and learn how to play, because making characters is like a session in itself.
So you make it a party. You pre-generate the characters, so we don't have to spend a whole session making characters, right?
Yeah.
And then you even go the extra mile and you get everybody their own dice. They get to take their new dice home with them.
Yeah, I feel like that is something that I think is a good tradition for all D&D players, is that if somebody new is joining your game, that you get them their own set of dice. If they have really no idea, then you just say, hey, I have everything you need to play. I make these little dice boxes too. They look like mimic monsters, and I'll make them for my friends so they can put their dice in there.
Now, those are fabric dice bags that you make?
No, they're like little wood box chests, like treasure chests that you can get at Hobby Lobby, and I get like little dragon eyes, and I use quick wood, and I make little faces and fangs, and I paint them and everything, and I give those as gifts a lot.
That's adorable. That is adorable. So it's a party. There's gifts involved, good food, and it's all relaxed and chill, and people just have a great time doing it, right?
Yeah. Mostly it's more about just getting together and hanging out. Like if it's just like a regular board game night, but you're playing D&D.
When did you start the Dudes of Destiny?
The summer of 2017.
Oh, okay.
And I lived in Indy for almost a year, and then I moved to Muncie, and I was still playing with them. I would drive an hour to play with them, sometimes twice a week. But then finally people were moving away and stuff, and so driving an hour all the time was getting too hard. And so I stopped playing, and then I met a coworker at the university that I work at now, and at Ball State, and he invited me to his game, and so I started playing with them, and it's really been like one of the best games I've ever been a part of. And I met my current boyfriend in this group, and then I started bartending on the side at a brewery, and we started a group there called the RPG Pub Crawlers. And
Wow.
so we go to different pubs around Muncie and we play, and that's a big group. But yeah,
people are in that group.
a lot. There's a lot. We're gonna have to start splitting up and doing more than one thing. And I have volunteered to be a DM for one of those tables. So
Wow.
I want to have like a D&D big day of the year at the brewery, because it's a big space, and get a couple games, get people to sign up to come. I think it would be really fun.
That does sound like a lot of fun, is getting to play D&D in the pub.
Yeah, it's really fun.
India, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you for sharing your story with us. It's great to hear that even though your dad has passed on, he's still very close to you when you get behind the DM screen and you share your love of Dungeons and Dragons with friends and coworkers. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I was really happy to talk about it. So thanks, Dad, for getting me started. Hope you're on a good adventure.